Hello and welcome everybody, I'm One Proper Baron and this is Dev Diary number 44 with the best title of any CK3 Dev Diary, that is 1.2 bits and bobs, because yes, you heard it right, 1.2 is not just on the way, it is now on the horizon. Tomorrow there is a Twitch stream on the official Paradox channel, and apparently, so that is what they say in the Dev Diary, they will be announcing the actual release date of 1.2. I'm incredibly excited for that because of course that means, you know, the beautiful character creator, but it also means everything in this Dev Diary. Let me tell you, this Dev Diary, when I look at it, is essentially, hey, what have people requested? What have people complained about? And how do we make it better? This rounds the game well off when it comes to the base features, and I'm very much hoping that after this we can, you know, slowly look forward to some news about the future content that we are facing when it comes to flavor packs, when it comes to, content packs, and when it comes to the major expansions and whatnot. So, I believe that 1.2 will be a good, you know, will deliver a well-rounded experience in CK3, although it already was that, of course, but it will push it even further. Now, what am I talking about? Why am I so excited for all of these requests addressed? Why don't we take a look at that? The first thing that is being talked about here is, first of all, 1.2 will be save game compatible, which is big. You can just, you know, jump into a campaign right now and do not need to worry that that campaign will be over once 1.2 hits. And then the first addition will be the kill list. Oh, this is beautiful. Sometimes I really did find myself asking, has this person killed others? Has this person done anything that I should know about? But you couldn't really tell in CK3 1.0 and 1.1 because there was no kill list. You would always have to start with a victim. If you look at a victim, you can then see who was the killer. But in this case, if I look at Heinrich IV, without this button, I would never know that he killed somebody. So in this case, View Kills opens this list right here. It's a beautiful little list, gives us the execution, or rather the death reason, gives us when it happened, and it also gives us his age or their age, and then every trade, religion, and culture. I think this is really good. It essentially makes it so that you can trace what is going on in the world more reliably and more easily, making it so that role-playing becomes even easier than it already is. Now, the next button is interesting. I really like it. I hope so will you, but I know that my take on this will probably be quite hot. This is the hottest take that I have had in a while here when it comes to the Dev Diaries, and to be fair, we haven't had any Dev Diaries in a long time. Attached to army is a button that you might think lets other armies attach to you, but that is untrue. It is very much out in the open that CK3 is designed as a game where the uncertainty of AI behavior is supposed to play a role, although the AI is supposed to also be quite, well, you know, acceptable, to be quite decent, and I think they are quite decent. I'll be honest with you. There are only two situations where I have seen the AI properly fail. The first one is in Crusades. In Crusades, what we have is that the AI doesn't really care for you, meaning if you are fighting a battle right next to them, that you would be winning with their support, they just sit there and keep sieging. And then the other one is usually happening whenever the enemy AI comes in stacks. For example, there is a small AI that comes in first and starts the battle with you, and the neighboring, the allied AI says, hey, wait a minute, that is a small stack, you can defeat him, I don't need to come in, which is, by default, a good decision. But if there is a larger stack behind that smaller stack, they will come in and crush you. And the other, you know, your allied AI didn't anticipate that because they only treated really the calculation whether they should come in or not with the smaller stack in mind. Meaning, those are the two things where the AI definitely does have some shortcomings, but I'm sure that will be improved upon. If you could just tell the allied AI to attach to you, it would all be over. You don't need an AI at that point. It would be boring as hell. It is like all of those armies that you are commanding as your friends, they might as well just be yours. It's entirely pointless to have any allies there because they are practically yours, and that was very exploitable, for example, in CK2. If you didn't like one of your allies, why don't you just send your, you know, tiny army, like 2 people, into a battle versus a much larger army, as long as your allied army is attached, wiping the allied army entirely. I'm very happy that that isn't in the game, but I'm telling you one thing. I actually think that the attach to army button, where we can attach to other armies, which will be very convenient, by the way, for role players such as myself. You know, if I send my beneficiary as an army commander off into the Holy Land, I'll just attach him and never look at it again. This is his luck, and he has to make his fortune, he has to make his fate happen, right? So I'm not gonna command that myself. Only if my character is actually commanding the army will I do it myself. This is 100% what I will do, and this is why I think the attach to army button doesn't go far enough, and this is the hot take. I think I would love a button that just says, make this army behave like it is an AI army. If I fight a war against any power and I am not the one leading the army, I would always, 100%, whether I have allies where I can attach my army, or whether I, you know, am the only fighter on my side, I would love for my army to be commanded by the actual commander of that army. Make it so that I can just say, hey, you know, make this AI behavior. And then my army will run around. I will witness it. I will look at it and say, oh no, he chose bad terrain. Oh no, he's engaging a much larger force. I would absolutely love if that could be a thing that we could get done, because honestly, I think there's a lot of roleplay in tragedy. I think there's a lot of roleplay in losing. And because of that, hey, if I lose every now and again because my AI army didn't really do exactly what I would have done to min-max my benefits, so be it, right? That is essentially my take. I love the attached to army, and as you might have known, but at the very least you know it now, I'm not a fan of just attaching armies to you, but I would be a huge fan if I could tell my army, hey, why don't you auto do your stuff? You have a war going on, you know. If we have multiple wars, I would also love it if I could separate them into front lines. You know, I say you are active, I don't know, fighting off the Hungarians, and the other one is busy fighting off the French, that sort of stuff, right? I would love it. I will tell you, I already love the attached to army button. It will most certainly solve how I approach wars in many instances, and it will without a doubt solve how I look at you know, everything related to the Crusades, where I just will attach my army essentially to somebody else. But yeah, if you could fully automate my armies at some point, I would be a huge fan. Let me know what you think about that hot take. Hey, if I lose a battle because of an AI automated army, as long as I can see it happen and feel bad about it and then execute my former commander, I would be a big fan. Now the next one is good. It is a buff for cruel and for intriguant characters. Force Realm Priest's endorsement. If you hold a strong hook on your Realm Priest, you can force them to endorse you. That way you can still get all of those sweet taxes and levies from their church holdings, even if they might personally think you are a blasphemous fool. I think this is really nice, because until now, if you wanted the approval of your Realm Priest and you couldn't exchange them, if you were a horrible person, you would always have to like sway them, you know, become their friend, give them some money. And hey, I'm a horrible person. I'm not giving anybody money. So I think this is great. This makes it so that I can tackle that issue from a different angle. Tribal walls and tribal holding variants. This is beautiful. Look at these art assets. I always like visual fidelity and variety. And here we have the Northern, Steppe, Indian and Tibetan, African and Arabian tribes. I think they look absolutely lovely. I always love the Steppe tribes because they are so colorful, right? But these all look really neat. They look all very good. And I mean, I'm a big fan. I like it when I can look at a great deal of aspects on the map instead of everything looking the same. I think this is really cute. Reworked Dynasty UI. Now this one is a big one. You may know this, you may not know this. I did the tutorials on some Crusader Kings III topics on the official Paradox channel, and one that I did was dynasties. And I had to, back in the day, experiment a lot because it wasn't certain for me, you know, how is the house head determined? How is the dynasty head determined? And now this is all cleared up, so especially if you have a friend that is a newer player, there is no more confusion over this topic. This window has been reworked in a way where it is, I would say, much more compact, but at the same time, much more informative. So we have House Godwin right here, and you can see that he is the house head, you can see his military strength, and you can see who is the house head heir. That of course goes to their primary heir every time, depending on the realm's succession law. Then we have the dynasty head of the Godwin dynasty. He is also the dynasty head, and here it is now explained. To become the dynasty head, another house head must acquire significantly greater max military strength than the current dynasty head. So it doesn't rely on your, you know, current actual military strength, but on your max troops that you can have as the character that you currently are. This wasn't explained originally. Now that it is explained, it should make the dynasty game much more accessible for a number of people. Beyond that, down here we have the dynasty legacies. Now without having to open the actual legacy screen, you can quickly see just what has been picked up, what sort of leaning this dynasty had. I think this is really neat. This entire interface is now much more concise. Now let's move on to the improved battle UI. I think this one is great. It reminds me very strongly of the really good rework for the UI when it comes to sieging, so the Sieges UI, because this one is much more compact now as well, but shows you everything that you need to see. You see exactly how well the fight is progressing here, how the chances are, who is superior and who is inferior, and then you can see right here the battle phases, of course, the levies and those levies that already fled. You can see the terrain modifier both here and then here in the background image, very cute. And then you can see, of course, the men-at-arms and the knights down here, and what your commander and the enemy commander rolled. Now the big question for me is just, this line, I assume, means either this side is succeeding, so as in this line will move further over there in the next few rolls. I'm not entirely certain what this line means. I will be exploring that as we move towards 1.2, because of course, you know, we can't know everything just by looking at it, but the layout is definitely much more well, accessible, I think. Yet again, a word that I keep using today, but it really is. It is one of those layouts where you look at it and you immediately know what is important right here on the top, and then if you want to dive into why this on the top is happening, you can just look down here. That is a good order of, things, and I think that is very excellent. Your coat of arms is now decorated with mantling. It adds a sense of flair, and you can also spot other players nearby on the map during multiplayer. Look at that, and I gotta tell ya, we already have this for some when you are at war, when you have an alliance, all of those things. I believe when you have a truce as well, they already have some form of embellishment to the coat of arms. But I will tell you, the more we get, the happier I will be, because this just, it adds so much flair. This is me. Look at my brothers in Castile and Galicia. They are embarrassments. I am the guy with this. I love that. This is really good stuff. I like it. The more stuff is on the map, the more stuff is on the map without cluttering the map, the more you will actually feel that the map is alive. So I'm a big fan, even though this is of course entirely player-oriented as it stands. Rally point improvements, so there are some improvements. I don't know whether... I don't think that they are writing about everything here, because you can see we've done some work on the troop system, but here are the bigger ones. As part of this, we hope to have eliminated some bugs, like levies failing to reinforce when they should. That is good. That bug was incredibly annoying. More visibly, we've made one change to how troops get raised at rally points. Now, if you exceed the supply limit, the game will automatically split the army up to obey the supply limit, spreading it out over adjacent provinces. This takes away microing, makes it so that you can be getting active and, just have a good time. I think this is great. The way they did that here is very effective at taking the micro out, but then giving you, whatever you want to do and making it so that you can then take full control. I'm a big fan. Alternatively, of course, I would also like it if the rally points just in general, for example, if I could just, with a rally point, kind of draw on the map, right, where I say, hey, look at this is the area that I want this rally point to raise troops, and right now it does it entirely. If you have two rally points, they both kind of meet here in their realm of influence, and then everything that is on the right side goes to this rally point, and everything that is on the left side, and this is, I think this is, I don't know whether I'm turned around on this camera, but whatever. But like, I would like it if I could just, determine where exactly it raises troops. All of that aside, of course, it doesn't really matter. Right now, we just have a much better rally point system, it seems. What else is coming with that rework? I'm excited to find out. I would like it if we, essentially maybe put a malus onto, majorly stacking really good men-at-arms units. So, for example, elephants, if you stack them, if you train a lot of them, you would be in a situation where you just can stomp everything, because the actual men-at-arms counter doesn't work anymore if you just have that many elephants. So maybe you just make them more costly the more you already have in your army. Maybe you make it so that they become ineffective if your entire army is just elephants. But we'll see about that when 1.2 actually comes out. Right now, of course, we don't really know. Siberian paganism, this one is an interesting. I have the ultimate mod collection, of course, that has every immersion mod under the sun that is worth its salt. And actually, that's unfair. There's a lot of mods that are not in the mod collection. I forgot how to speak, but that are still great. So don't let me dissuade you. Now, what I mean is there are a great amount of immersion mods in there, and one of them is a Sumonusco mod that adds, I believe, 5 religions to where formerly was just Sumonusco. So this would be right this area. Now 5 is nice. I'm not complaining at all. But I do think 2 also works perfectly fine, because this entire area is empty. If you split it too much, you make the faiths too weak. You make it so that only, the faiths can conquer within one another, or in themselves, I mean. And I think that is not all that great. I think 2 faiths is perfectly fine. It does make the area more granular, and I think it does exactly what it's supposed to do. So you can see it was renamed to Uko-Nusko, because this is no longer just the Finnish religion, of course. Uko-Nusko being the main deity of the region, and then Turum, that is... main patron deity. Numi Turum over here, that is a Siberian version of this faith. They're both very similar. Ancestor worship, ritual celebrations, and sanctity of nature are the tenets of... I believe this is just the Turumic tenets, right? It is some way similar, yes, okay. Ancestor worship, ritual celebrations, and sanctity of nature. It's a pretty decent one. Ritual celebrations are great if you want to spam piety. I like it. And then, of course, the virtues are brave, generous, and temperate. Meanwhile, being greedy, craven, or vengeful is considered a sin. You can see it's a classic, I would argue, pagan trait, pagan religion, and it makes it so as well that you can much more easily reform it, because, of course, now they are separated from one another. Now, the next one is the improved ugliness system. And you know what, let's just not talk too much about it. Let's just take a look at the result. Okay, let me zoom in a bit. So who we have here is Harold Godwinson and Svade of Sweden. Svein, I think. And you can see right here, this is his normal face. Actually, this is his ugly face in 1.1. At least I think so. And this is the ugly face in 1.1 as well. Aren't those just the normal faces? I don't think they're necessarily ugly. Oh, apparently they are. Damn, that's rough. I'm so sorry for you, Godwin and Swain. But you can see it much more clearer here. The eyes are in a completely different position. You can see that the nose is sort of fitting differently into that face. The entire face of him is a bit more squished, making it so that he, I mean, can come across as more ugly, I guess. And then right here we have essentially the same scenario. The eyes essentially make it. You can see it right here. They are much more ugly, at least in perception. I'm sure on the inside both of these are great fellas. Now that being said, that is really nice, just getting a bit more, you know, better working visuals, better working character visuals in there will always be great. And honestly, I'm looking forward towards making an ugly dynasty. That is something that I actually haven't done yet. I really want to do that. Becoming hideous should be great. Matrilineal game rules. This is amazing. This is something that I'm using in the more game rules mod, but they have implemented it even further. They have done it even better here in the upcoming 1.2 patch. You can see it right here. Matrilineal marriages default. AI characters will arrange matrilineal marriages if they belong to the player's close family or a reputable dynasty or an equal realm or are a strong ruler. Then we have the default but player exception. So AI characters will arrange matrilineal marriages if they belong to a reputable dynasty, etc., etc. Then down there we have AI characters will want to arrange matrilineal marriages for all female dynasty members. That is, honestly, I'm probably never going to play with that because there's going to be so many dynasties just spreading everywhere because everybody will just make dynasty children. Like with default rules, patrilineal marriages still happen if deemed favorable enough. So this is definitely still fine if it is favorable enough. I mean, at the end of the day, we might be trying that out, but we'll see about it. AI characters will only arrange matrilineal marriages if part of a female-dominated or equal realm. Like with default rules, patrilineal marriages will happen if deemed favorable enough. See, here I would like some sort of middle ground, I guess. I think I will play with default. I think the default option where most of the time they will go for matrilineal marriages unless there is some stuff going on, like, you know, reputable dynasties and whatnot, right? I feel, or rather they will go for patrilineal marriages unless they go are a reputable dynasty and whatnot. That is what I meant to say there. I feel like I'm going to use default the most, but I like matrilineal marriages female dominated and equal because you can of course turn that around as well if you turn around the gender of the characters with that one game rule. So I'm not entirely certain. I like this one and I like that one. This one is more historically accurate, but there were some matrilineal marriages, although of course that is neither here nor there because that is a bit more gamified than I would argue. I mean, it has to be gamified just for the record, but it is more gamified than it was in real life. Of course, who do you belong to, right? That sort of stuff. Which family do you belong to? It could rapidly change depending on the circumstances. Matrilineal marriages never. That's a tough one. I mean, if you do that one and you are a woman, you will have a very hard time. You will have to marry into lowborns. Now, that being said, let's move on to the last stuff here. Absolutely great. Naming dynasty members in court. You now get to name all dynasty members that are born in your court, not just your own children. This means that you can make sure the correct names are passed down as you prefer. Much requested, of course. And then new event content. You can now grow old, sick, tired, and depressed more efficiently with new events that dole out the infirm trait. The next part is huge. For those seeking even swifter departures from this mortal coil, we have expanded the murder scheme with additional events and deadly outcomes. But take care. The mastermind behind the scheme can now be unmasked, in addition to the existence of the scheme itself. This is big, because previously this was impossible. You could only find out who was doing it if he executed the plot, or if they executed the plot. Whether they succeeded or not, it could be showed. Now, you can actually unmask who is doing it and stop them before they ever go and actually execute the plot. This is big, makes it much more dangerous for the AI and for you to plot against somebody, because if they do unmask you as the mastermind and you are in their realm, well, good luck going to prison. I like this change a lot. It's a big change that will change how I approach Intrigue. To even things out a bit, a court physician you recruit as an agent has a chance to purposely mess up treatments of your target, and they can now also properly treat their own wounds and conditions. I love it. Now, that being said, I do want to remind you, hey, tune into the CK3 stream tomorrow. Then we will learn more features of 1.2 as it will be showed off. And of course, we will learn about the release date for 1.2. Let me know in particular what you think about my hot take with the armies. Let my armies be AI. I beg of you, Paradox. I beg of you. But with that being said, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about this dev diary and about the future content that is coming our way in beautiful, beautiful CK3. I'll see you later. Now, as always, of course, I would like to thank the members of the channel that are making this possible, because none of this would actually be possible without their direct support. Thank you, the Barons, the Counts, and the gorgeous, gorgeous Dukes. I really appreciate the support. If you also want to support me, then check out the join button right underneath the video. And for now, later, alligator.